There are hedge fund managers making $1 million an hour. You know, it's crazy, right? It's money everywhere. It's money in everything. I want to help you. Start your business today. Come join my royal family. Subscribe to Casino Is the Name. Hey, yo, what's going on right now? You watching Casino Is the Name, and today I just wanted to bring to you guys a conversation that I had with one of my god brothers. The conversation is real estate, cash versus credit. Which one is more important? And I always try to bring these videos to you guys from a real place, like real conversations that I had with family and friends, or things that I saw or overheard. And this one was a really interesting one to me, at least. So I told my god brother that credit was more important than cash, and he completely disagreed. And it's, rightfully so. He's from the islands, so they come, his culture has a very strong mind towards not borrowing money, not owing anybody. So he wants to work and save the money up and then buy his house cash or build his house that way. And so I had gave him a scenario with all things being equal, right? So, and this is only going to work this conversation can only happen if both things, like all things are created equal, right? So we're talking about two people make the same amount of money, have the same amount of cost per month, as far as work life and everything like that, except for one rents and saves their money, and one decides to go build their credit or build credit and then take out a mortgage. So they both have the same car. One person, the person who has decided to go the cash route, instead of buying a car from a dealership with a loan, they decide to save up their money. So they caught the bus and they just saved up $10,000 and they bought their car that way. The other person just decided to go and get a car. So they started building their credit that way. So this person, both of them have their car. So the other person may say, they're saving money over time by having bought their car outright, but they also spent money still traveling back and forth on the bus or whatever. And then also the other person decided to rent instead of going and trying to buy a house by building their credit and going all of those credit routes, because they never established credit. So they've decided, pretty much to, just save all of their money. And so with all things being created equal, we'll say after expenses every year, both of them can save $10,000. So one can save $10,000 who's renting per year, and the other could have saved $10,000 had he not gone out and bought his own house. And so in this scenario, we're looking at about a $200,000 house in today's currency, because I think the average house is around $220,000 or something like that. So with all things being created equal, the mortgage and let's say his rent, let's say I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt and just say his rent is a little cheaper than the mortgage, but they're going to be close. His rent, if he's in a major city, is going to be very close, or even possibly more than the mortgage on a $200,000 house. But either way, he's able to save $10,000 because his plan is to spend the $200,000 and buy his house outright, because they're still trying to stay at about the same price point. $200,000 is the level of house that they both want to get. All right, so this guy's saving his money, $10,000. So it's going to take him 20 years to save $200,000. And the other person is just going to go get a mortgage. He's been building his credit. He's took out loans on his car. He had a little credit card that he used to buy groceries, that he built his credit up. So the same, say year one decides he's just going to go buy his house. So he buys his house. The other one is just going to rent for 20 years until he gets to his 20-year mark. So in this situation, he will still have been spending money on rent. And this is where this is one of the major issues with having, trying to go the cash route and just, renting until you have enough cash to buy it out. So even though he won't have had a loan where he's paying the interest, the other person is still paying his house off over time. So at about the 20-year mark, then there's going to be several things wrong with going the cash route versus going the mortgage route. One is you still pay rent, money that you can't get back for 20 years, right? Now, let's say his rent was $12,000 a year, so $1,000 a month for 12 years. For 20 years. So you're looking at $12,000. So he spent over $240,000 or so, right? Just in rent, money that he cannot get back. Now, had he had a mortgage for those 20 years, he would have still, even though he wouldn't have had the full, let's say he paid the same amount. Let's say he paid $1,000 a month. Then, or maybe he paid more. Let's say paid $1,400 a month. Either way, he still would have came out better because he would have been paying down on, he would have been basically saving part of that money that he's spending every month. And then 20 years, he would have still only had 10 years left before that house was paid off. When the other guy, he does have $200,000 in order to just put that whole $200,000 down. But what happens with real estate over 20 years is it goes up in value, right? So they say real estate is supposed to double every 10 years. It's not always the case in every situation, but let's just say it goes up $50,000. So now that $200,000 house, shoot, really it should go up at least $100,000. But let's just say it goes up $50,000. So even though he saved $10,000 a year for 20 years and he has $200,000, he can no longer still buy that house that would have been valued at $200,000 20 years ago. Now that house is now worth $250,000 and he's still only saving $10,000 a month. So now he has to go another 5 years of saving $10,000 a month. And what happens in 5 years, the real estate still goes up. So it may actually take him maybe an additional 7 years before he can afford the level of house that he's trying to get to. And so now you have longer time, longer wait. You're still renting this whole time. So now you're looking at over $240,000 just in 20 years. Now you're going out another 7 years. You're looking at another like $84,000 or something like that. So and that's money you can't get back. When you move out, that money is gone. Like when you decide to leave your apartment, they don't give you money saying, they don't give you a check saying, hey, this is the difference between, when you started here and deciding to leave now. That's not how that happens. You spent $240,000 renting. That's just gone. But if you own that place or you had a mortgage on that place, you're buying that place. So whenever you decide to leave in 20 years, you can say, well, you know what? I don't want to live here anymore. I'm going to put this house up on the market. I'm going to sell this house. And then let's say the house is worth $250,000. You started buying it when it was valued at $200,000 and you've paid on it for 20 years. Let's say you still even owe $100,000 on it. At the end of the 20, let's say you still owe $100,000 on it. The house is still worth more. So when you do sell it, you'll still get something back, right? Like it's still, you can look at it almost as a savings or something, but you can still get something back. But what else you can do is what you can't do, especially and you can't do this with an apartment, but what else you can do with having the fact that you own the place or you're owning the place is that you can go and you can take out a loan against it. A loan against the value. So let's say the value has gone up $50,000 over that 20 years, and you've been paying it down. And let's say you owe $100,000. So you owe $100,000, but the house is worth $250,000. So you have $150,000 of equity in there. So you can pull out $80,000 and go buy a rental property, or if you want to just do something with it, or maybe you want to put it into a different kind of account or something like that that's more aggressive on the interest, you can do that because you own that place. But if you live in an apartment for 20 years, you can't go to the landlord and say, hey, this place is now worth $250,000. Let me get $80,000 out. I want to invest it somewhere. No, that's not how it works. You don't own that. That money is gone. So focusing on even just small things, like just building your credit, like even with small things, it can save you more money and it can be more important than you have in cash. As a matter of fact, let's say you have no credit and somebody else has credit, and you both wanted to, well, let's say you have cash. Let's just say you have cash. Let's say you have $50,000. You have $50,000 and I have $5,000. I can still get into, well, I had the VA loan, so my situation might be different, but I can still get into a better house than you could. Well, let's say a more expensive house, because let's say you do have, so you got the $50,000 and the house costs $200,000. You don't have the credit in order to buy the $200,000 house, so you have to settle for the house that's valued at $50,000. I can still go no money down. What with the VA loan, you can go no money down. With the FHA, it's like 3.5% down. But I can still take that $5,000 and buy a better house than you could with that $50,000 cash that you would have. And so the credit is going to be, and then this is a whole different situation. But that's why I try to keep all things equal, because there are a lot of different variables. Like maybe you go hard money, maybe you go this way, but I'm just talking about if we both had the same exact situation, we both were able to save the same amount of money or put the same amount of money to the side, we both had the same average bills, it's much better to have good credit versus trying to go the all cash route. Anyway, right now you watch Casino Is the Name. Let me know what you guys think. And also, I have a book. It's called Big Shot, Hot Shot. It will teach you how I went through the process of getting my authority and starting my trucking business. Anyway, right now you watching Casino Is the Name, man. Like, subscribe, share. Thanks for watching. There are hedge fund managers making $1 million an hour. It's crazy, right? It's money everywhere. It's money in everything. I want to help you. Start your business today. Come join my royal family. Subscribe to Casino Is the Name.